Welcome back to the channel. This is Great White Northerner, and today I thought I would take some time to talk about the varied and wonderful world of commemorative Canadian quarters. There are so many different commemorative quarters that have come out in the last few years that it starts to get a bit confusing. Some of them are large series of 12 different quarters, and some are shorter series, but they include variants with added color enamels. And then there are a bunch of single designs, some with colored variants and some without. So this video will attempt to explain all the variants up to this point in 2020, what they look like, and what rare variants we should watch out for when we are searching through our pocket change, or our coin rolls. But before I do that, I think it's important to briefly talk about the history of the quarter so that we have a bit of context. Our very first Canadian quarter was minted way back in 1870. It had the effigy of Queen Victoria on the obverse, and two crossed maple leaf boughs under a crown on the reverse. This was the same design that was used on the reverse of the 10-cent and 50-cent pieces from 1858 to 1936. The composition was what is known as sterling silver, which is 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper. Queen Victoria died in 1901, so the obverse was updated in 1902 to show the effigy of her son, King Edward VII. And again, in 1911, the obverse was updated to the effigy of King George V. After King George V died in 1936, the Royal Canadian Mint commissioned Emmanuel Hahn to create a new reverse design for the quarter, as they were now changing the obverse to King George VI. The cross maple leaf boughs and crown design was replaced with the caribou on the first King George VI quarter in 1937. The caribou was apparently chosen because of the abundance of these majestic animals across the breadth of Canada, and that they were once a huge part of the culture and food source for many native North Americans. Caribou, by the way, are the same species as the reindeer of Northern Europe and Asia. You know, the ones that fly Santa around the world in his sleigh on Christmas Eve. So they're really fast, and apparently they can fly, so why not put them on our quarter? This caribou portrait has been the reverse design of the Canadian quarter since 1937, up until the time of this video in 2020, with, well, a few exceptions. And when I say few, I mean a lot. Since 1992, the caribou has had to share space with at least 73 different commemorative designs, not counting the many colored variants, and it is a rare year that passes now that we don't see at least one additional design on our quarters. There have been some commemorative designs that have shown up on other Canadian coinage, but the quarter has been the coin of choice for the majority of our commemorative issues. So, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Caribou, let's ask you to step aside once again so we can explore the massive number of designs that have found their way onto the back of our Canadian quarters. The first commemorative quarters were minted in 1967 to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of Canada's Confederation as a country and its semi-independence from Great Britain. In 1967, we replaced the caribou design with a bobcat, otherwise known as a lynx, and it originally consisted of 80% silver, but was later reduced to 50% silver and 50% copper. They are impossible to tell apart visually. The obverse has been updated 2 years earlier to show Elizabeth II's effigy. This is a popular and sought-after commemorative quarter, not only because of its age, significance, and rarity, as there were only about 49 million of them minted, but also because of its silver content. The second commemorative quarter was issued 6 years later in 1973 to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the founding of our famous Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The caribou was replaced again with the picture of a mounted policeman carrying a flag bracketed by the dates 1873 and 1973. By this time, the composition of the quarter had been changed again to 100% nickel. There were almost 136 million of these coins minted, but about 10,000 of them were erroneously minted with a slightly larger effigy of Queen Elizabeth that was used on the 1965 to 1972 coins. Somebody forgot to change out a die. These are known as the large bust versions and can fetch a pretty decent premium over the small bust versions. Everyone wants a bigger bust. Go figure. The next commemorative quarter didn't show up until the New Brunswick quarter on January 9th, 1992, so it was a bit of a wait, but this one decided to show up with 11 of his buddies. 1992 was the 125th anniversary of Canada's Confederation, and the Canadian Mint decided to introduce 12 new reverse designs, in addition to the normal caribou, showcasing our 10 provinces and at the time 2 territories. Nunavut would be carved out of the Northwest Territories in 1999 to give us 3, so wasn't included in this set. So each coin has a different design that showcases something or place relative to each province or territory, and they were their inspiration for the U.S. Mint's State Quarter program that started in 1999. 153 million were minted, but individually they are all relatively low mintage, with anywhere from roughly 10 million for the Yukon to just over 14 million for Ontario and Saskatchewan that were minted that year. There are also several variants to watch out for here. Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and Northwest Territories all have variants where the obverse die has been rotated 90 or even 180 degrees from the reverse. The obverse showed the updated effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, which was changed in 1990 to show a more mature queen with a crown instead of a tiara. Next we have the Millennium Quarters, a series of 24 different designs, 12 in 1999 and 12 in 2000. Again, this was in addition to the Caribou Quarter, which was also produced. The 12 quarters in 1999 were the months of the year starting in January and ending in December. The mintages ran from as low as 12.2 million for the January quarter, slowly increasing to over 30 million in September and almost 43 million in December. Also, the 25-cent denomination was moved from the reverse to the obverse on all of these coins to make room on the reverse. However, this led to 2 mule coins being produced in error. There were a small percentage of the September and November coins produced with the caribou obverse, which didn't have a denomination on it, leading to a quarter that technically isn't worth anything. There is no 25 cents anywhere on the coin. Watch out for these ones because they are definitely worth more than 25 cents. In 2000, the second set of Millennium Quarters were produced. There were 12 coins with what were touted as Canadian attributes on the reverse, starting with the first coin, Pride, and then following up with other values like creativity, ingenuity, family, and freedom, to name a few. One was issued each month of the year, like the 99 ones, and each had a unique reverse that was designed by various Canadian artists to symbolize each of those various attributes. I always expected the Pride one to have a bunch of bare-chested men in leather thongs dancing around with a rainbow flag, but apparently that's not the Pride they meant. There are 2 rare colored variants in this set where red color was added to both the Pride and the Celebration quarters, and an extremely rare variant with a P mint mark on the Creativity and Community quarters. The P mint mark would be on the obverse underneath the Queen's head. There's also a 45-degree rotated die variant in both the Pride and the Harmony quarters. In 2002, we decided to make just one commemorative quarter. It was to celebrate Canada's 135th anniversary and Queen Elizabeth's Golden Jubilee, or 50th anniversary of her ascension to the throne. Just over 30 million of these were minted, and their composition was now 95% steel coated with a copper nickel plating. This is denoted by the P underneath the Queen's head. This composition will be used on all future quarters to come, although the P will be replaced by a Royal Canadian Mint mark in later years. In 2004, we produced 2 commemorative quarters in addition to the Caribou Quarter. The obverse of the coin has been updated with the current effigy of Queen Elizabeth. This was changed on all Canadian currency in 2003 and is still in use today. The first of the commemorative quarters shows a 17th century sailing ship and celebrates the founding of Acadia and much of the Maritimes by France in 1604. It's a reminder of Canada's French heritage. About 15 million of these were minted. The second quarter is very unique for its time. It is the first of many poppy quarters to come, and is the very first colorized circulation coin ever made. It has a red-colored poppy in the center of the coin. There are about 29 million of these minted, and they had some technical difficulties with this design that had the red color fading fairly quickly. It was an issue the Mint found a solution to, though, and corrected by 2008. It is also famous for being considered a spy device by many tinfoil hat-wearing Canadians and Americans who thought the Canadian government was attempting to spy on them with some microchip imprinted money. I kid you not. I do keep all the non-faded ones I find, but I also wrap them in tinfoil just in case. Just kidding. 2005 brought several commemorative quarters. The first was celebrating the Year of the Veteran and shows a younger military serviceman's profile next to a World War II veteran's profile. It is a beautiful coin, showing that there continues to be sacrifices made by our military personnel today, just as there were 60 years before. Just under 30 million of these were minted. 2005 also saw the introduction of two other commemorative quarters. Celebrating the 100-year anniversary of Saskatchewan and Alberta joining Canada as its two newest provinces. The Northwest Territories used to encompass pretty much all of Canada, west of Ontario. Slowly, as Canada's population grew and migrated west, we carved new provinces and territories out of this large catch-all territory. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Yukon, and most recently in 1999, Nunavut, all were originally part of the Northwest Territories. About 20 million of each of these coins were minted. 2007 saw the beginning of our 2010 Vancouver Olympics commemorative series. The first 12 coins were minted from 2007 to 2009 and were designed by BC resident Glenn Green and depicted various sports from both the Olympics and Paralympics. There were a couple mules created in error in this set, including a wheelchair curling mule, which had the Olympic symbol on its obverse instead of the Paralympic symbol. And the 2007 Alpine skiing mule, which has a colorized, uncirculated version, which has a 2008 obverse instead of a 2007. Much like this one. 2008 also saw the reintroduction of the Remembrance Day Poppy Quarter, celebrating the 90th anniversary of Armistice in 1918 and the end of World War I. A new and improved colorization process was introduced, and the red poppy really stands out. It maintains its color extremely well compared to the original in 2004. The mint got a little lazy with this one, and the design is almost exactly the same as the 2004 version, only with an added banner saying Armistice 1918. Only 11 million of these were minted. 2009 brought two quarters commemorating the Canadian men and women's ice hockey team's gold medal wins in 2002 in Salt Lake City. We Canadians love our hockey, eh? The men's hockey quarter had about 20 million minted, with about 2.8 million of them that had a colorized red maple leaf behind the hockey player. There is an additional variant of the colorized coin where only about 200,000 of them were minted using the non-colorized reverse die, which stamped the last two from 2002 on top of the hockey player's leg rather than embedded in it. This resulted in a raised 2 variant and is highly desirable. The women's hockey coin also had a colorized version. There were about 22 million plain minted and 3 million colorized. And the 2 is nowhere near anyone's leg, so there's no more varieties. 2010 brought two very popular commemorative coins into circulation. The first was the 65th anniversary of World War II coin with a veteran in front of a maple leaf with 2 red poppies on either side of him. I think they look pretty cool, and there are only about 11 million of these minted. The second was the Cindy Klassen coin, celebrating her incredible accomplishment of winning 5 medals in a single Olympic Games in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. She was the first Canadian to accomplish such a feat. 19 million plain and 3 million colored coins were produced with the same red maple leaf behind her as was on the men's and women's hockey coins. 2011 introduced a new series of colorized coins. This was called the Legendary Nature Set and celebrated partly Inuit art, partly 3 relatively common animals, namely the bison, the orca, and the falcon. Mostly it celebrates the Royal Canadian Mint's ability to make a bunch of colorized coins that don't have red on them. Seriously, I don't know what they're commemorating here. I think they were just showing off the ability to put a different color on the coin. Anyway, there were 12 million of each animal minted, with half of them colorized and half not. Each animal had a different color. The bison had a green sun. The orca had a blue sun. Really? Green and blue? I guess they really wanted to show these colors off. Anyways, the falcon had a yellow sun, so I guess that works. By this point, they are definitely getting better with this enameling process, and the colors are still strong and bright today, 9 years later. 2012 brings in another new series of quarters to show off the Mint's continually improving ability to add color and special effects to their coins. Oh, and yes, they were also celebrating the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812. Anytime people make fun of our military, we Canadians like to point out that we kicked the Americans' butts in 1812, and even marched down to their White House and burned it down. Which we did, sorta. Actually, it was really the British. We weren't even a country yet. But we were there too, I think. Anyhow, I make fun, but this is a really nice set of quarters, highlighting some of the heroes of 1812. The first one is Major General Sir Isaac Brock. He was actually British, not Canadian, but we'll let that slide. He was the leader of the British forces in Canada, and if it weren't for his foresight and preparedness, the Americans would have overrun Canada in the first few months of the war, and we'd all be singing a different national anthem right now. The second one is Tecumseh, who was a self-made leader of most of the major native North American tribes. He fought alongside the British against the Americans to protect native lands from further encroachment by the Americans as they crossed the Mississippi. Although he was on the winning team, it was probably lucky for him that he died before he got to see how the British and Americans continued to treat his people after the war. The third is Lieutenant Colonel Charles Michael de Salaberry. I know, we say lieutenant. It's spelled lieutenant. There's no F in there. I don't know. I don't get it either. Anyhow, I've never heard of him before, but apparently he was the commander responsible for repelling the American attack against Montreal in 1813. And finally, Laura Secord, the creator of Canada's biggest chocolate company. Oh wait, sorry, no. It was a chocolate company here in Canada that stole her name because, you know, war and chocolates. Obviously. Anyway, she was actually famous for running 20 kilometers through the night and through enemy lines to warn the Canadians and British of an impending attack by the Americans at something called the Battle of Beaver Dams. I'm going to assume that's an important place, but I have no idea where that is. The coins themselves are sharp. I really like them. They're definitely some of my favorites. They feature two versions, one with a red maple leaf and the other where the effigies of each of the heroes has this cool frosted look. Both versions are nice, but I suspect the red-colored ones are the most popular. Just over 6 million of each of these were minted. In 2013, the Mint decided to do 2 more commemorative quarters, celebrating Canada's northern communities. There were actually 2 designs, but 4 coins. Each design showed 2 slightly different frosting effects. The first celebrates the 100th anniversary of the Canadian Arctic Expedition, a 5-year expedition of scientists, Inuit guides, and sailors sent to map out and explore the Canadian North, and ultimately lay claim to what is now northern Canada. The second shows 2 beluga whales swimming alongside a bowhead whale. Another whale, being followed by Inuits in kayaks, is being chased around the rim. I don't find the coins particularly exciting, although I like the whale one better than the Arctic Expedition one. The frosting on the Expedition one is just really hard to see. And again, there were 12.5 million minted, split 50-50 between the 2 frosted designs for each coin. We're almost to the end here. There were no commemorative designs on the 2014 quarter, but in 2015 they brought out 2, including my favorite. The first was the 50th anniversary of the iconic red and white Canadian flag design. Again, 12.5 million were minted, half plain, and the other half with a red and white enameled flag in the center. It's a striking piece, but even more striking was the other commemorative coin, which celebrated the 100th anniversary of the writing of the poem In Flanders Fields, written by Canadian Brigade Surgeon Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae during the First World War. This poem has become a mainstay of our Remembrance Day celebrations in Canada and has been the inspiration for wearing a poppy on Remembrance Day and Memorial Day around the world. It is a stunning design, using multiple red tones and 2 separate colors for the center of the flower. This really showcases how far the Mint has come with its enameling technology. These coins really stand out and have the same mintage and 50-50 split between colored and non-colored as the others. The Caribou got 1 more year to itself, and then in 2017 2 more commemorative coin designs were showcased. The first is the 125th anniversary of the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup is quite often characterized as the holy grail of hockey. It is the penultimate championship trophy in the NHL, celebrating the top team each year for the past 125 years in Canada's national pastime. Unlike every other national sport, though, the tradition is to engrave not only the winning team, but also the names of every player, staff, and management from that team onto the cup. This has resulted in a very unique-looking trophy. The cup has a large base consisting of 5 rings. Each ring can hold the names of 13 teams and 52 names from those teams. As the rings are filled, the rings are moved up, and the top one is removed and stored in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and a new blank is added to the bottom for future winners. Like all the others, there were 12.5 million of these minted, although there is no colored variant. The last commemorative quarter also came out in 2017, and was created to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Confederation of Canada as a nation. Like the 100-year anniversary, all of our coins from the nickel to the $2 coin or toonie got special treatment, and a new reverse to celebrate this anniversary. For the quarter, there were 20 million of this new design minted, but only a small percentage of them were colored. The colored versions are difficult to find even though the quarter is only 3 years old, so definitely watch out for them in your change. Again, great strides have been made in the mint's enameling process, and several colors were used on the turtle, beaver, and loon that grace the reverse of this quarter. That's it for now. The caribou is back in its rightful place on the 2018 and 2019 quarter. And I haven't even seen a 2020 yet. The Canadian Mint is now famous for its unique coloring process, and I'm sure there will be even more incredible designs as the future comes. Maybe we'll see that glow-in-the-dark technology that they put on the 2017 toonie show up on a future quarter. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and if you found this entertaining and or helpful, please like and subscribe and tell your friends and family about it. Till next time, take care and have a great one.